Hey, this is Pat, and today we're checking out the all-new HJC RPHA 60 helmet. Now, the RPHA 60 helmet is aimed at ADV riders as well as some dual sport riders out there. Anybody looking to take just as much time on the road as they are taking it off the road and down some trails. You have all the options in a full face helmet with a peak included, but you can always remove the peak, you can remove the shield. You can run goggles on this one. I'd say it's a little bit harder than other ADV helmets, but the RPHA line from HJC is their race-inspired line. So it has a lot of aggressive lines, a lot of aggressive angles, which I think is really noticeable with like the Tron-esque, like sci-fi style vents in the back of this helmet, but that's matched with a lot of ventilation through the top peak, as well as a pretty cool dark smoke shield included in the box, all for around the $500 price point. So when we start looking at this helmet, again, aimed at ADV riders out there, I think it's doing a lot of good things. A couple things I'd love to see HJC maybe improve on from this concept in the next edition, but a lot of cool features on here that might be great for those out there really putting a lot of miles down on the highway, but they might be setting up camp about 5 to 10 miles down a dirt road and need to get there. So if you are an ADV tourer out there, you might want to take a look at this helmet. When we start talking about the main features, again, I mentioned it's $500. It is a PIM EVO shell. That's premium integrated matrix EVO shell. It's something we've seen HJC use for time and time again. They tweak the formula here and there and add like EVO or plus to the name, but it is a mixture of carbon fiber, aramid, as well as other fiberglass materials to build out the entire composite shell construction. It is 3 shell sizes. It does come with 3 EPS liners, and you're looking about 3 pounds, 13 ounces in a size medium. Now, in terms of ADV helmets out there, that's towards the heavier end, but not outside of the realm, not like a 4-pound helmet or anything out there, but it is on the heavier side of the spectrum. If you're looking at lighter helmets out there, you look at brands like HJC, Climb, that's where you're gonna get really lightweight and carbon fiber materials built in for a little bit more in the price point. So keep that in mind. This is gonna do a lot for that $500 price point. Extra small up to 2 extra large is its sizing, and it is intermediate oval, so it's a little bit longer front to back than it is side to side. Fits most of the US market out there. Does fit true to size, although I will say I'm a medium in this helmet. I'm a medium in almost every helmet out there. It is very tight out of the box. So if you're someone that likes a little bit of an easier on and off of their helmet, or like something a little bit more relaxed, if you are between sizes, you might want to go up to that bigger size and then maybe adjust the cheek pads inside on their thickness just to really fine tune the overall fitness. When you're looking at the bottom of the helmet, you can see how narrow it is to get in. That is by design. The more they close this up, we've seen this with Neotech 3s, we've seen this with other helmet manufacturers out there, the more they close this port down at the bottom, the quieter the helmet does get. It comes with a chin skirt included in the box. I did remove it before this video, but you can just see how tight that port is down at the base to slide your head in there. So if you are someone that likes a little bit of a wider port, like I said, you might want to look at sizing up within the range. I'm a medium though. Medium fit me spot on in this model. When we start looking at all the features of the helmet and start breaking it down, we can start with ventilation. You do get a chin vent down here that does vent to the face shield and gets a little bit of air flowing through there. Really unique shield with this one. This is actually only on, you can see this little cutaway, it's only on the dark smoke. The clear one that is included does not have that little extended extra piece on there. It is really just for aesthetics. HJC, if you're listening, could have done without that. Again, that's just another part number. That's just another unit to try to find, and it's really just for aesthetics. Kind of makes that chin vent a little bit harder to go ahead and actuate too. So I could do without that. I think it looks cool. I think there's other brands out there on the market like Icon with the Airflight that do a similar style look to it. I just don't think it's all there for this model in this particular design, in my personal opinion. You do have vents up at the top. They are built into the top peak up top here with a trigger up there. Very easy to find that trigger with a gloved hand so you can open and close it. Before I actually move on to the peak here, one thing I want to talk about with the shield, it is pin lock ready. Pin lock 120 insert is included in the box. You only get one of them, so you got to decide whether you want to put it on the clear or the dark smoke shield, but you do get a very good seal around the gasket of the shield itself. Pretty easy to remove with some triggers on the side too. But you take a look at that drop down sun visor. This is something we've seen from HJC and a few other helmets within their line. This is an 85mm long drop down sun visor, which is extremely long. Most that we see are usually anywhere between 70 to 80mm, so you get an additional 5, but you really can see once I actuate it, it comes down and then kicks out right at the end. You get a little bit more away from the face. That's great for anybody that has a larger bridge of your nose. If you are running prescription glasses, is what I've seen a lot of people on Reddit or in the customer reviews of the old helmets that have these. You get a little bit more space for it. Problem is you have to have the prescription glasses up against your face when you drop down the sun visor, just because you can't get them around it. So keep that in mind. You can finagle it in there. It does give more space, but it is an option out there. Really cool technology that we're only seeing HJC do that little kick out there. And it does make the world of difference just getting it up, a little bit more coverage, but not hitting the bridge of your nose for those out there that run into that. I don't have to tell you, you already know, and you already know the problem of drop down sun visors. So I like that HJC has solved that and working towards an even better solution in the future. When we pop up to the peak, I mentioned it before, it is a toolless peak visor, so you don't need any tools. It actually just pops up on the side and then you can twist them off, but you can remove it. It is aerodynamic, it's got a ton of ventilation in it, but you can remove this and run it in street mode, and you do that by removing the actual screws themselves. And then on the top visor, this looks like it's actually just a design portion on there, but that is actually a button. You press in and you can remove the peak out. It just goes in with 2 prongs in there. Little on the flimsy side, even when it's mounted up on each side. I think it does run a little bit on the flimsier side, and it does leave a much larger opening for the vent at the top. You can see I was talking about that trigger before. Just allows it to scoop more air, but then you are in full street mode. You can put the screws back in to actually cover up the plugs on the side. But really just a sleek design for a more street-oriented version. If you're doing just highway miles in a certain day, you can take the peak off. You won't get any of that turbulence or that wind noise coming through there that peaks are known to bring into the equation. It's very lightweight though, so even when you ditch that, you're probably only ditching about an ounce, maybe 2 in the overall weight of the helmet. I talked about it before, but I'll show you again on here. You really get this almost like gill style, like a shark gills coming out the back that cover all 4 of the vents on the back. That does make it challenging if you are running goggles. Then your goggle straps have to go up and over that. I don't think that's something that HJC really thought about in the design process. So in the future, I'd love to see that more streamlined and put the vents up at the spoiler or down at the bottom just to keep a smooth line, because a lot of ADV riders out there, once they hit the trails, they want to throw goggles on inside the helmet. You could fit smaller goggles inside this helmet, but again, then you're running into a lot of issues when it comes to closing the shield or running just the strap to the back. One last thing to call out is that it is prepared for the HJC Smart Bluetooth systems on the side. So it is going to be prepared for their specific Bluetooth systems out there. They are powered by Senna, so you can go ahead and add that into it. It's nice and integrated. You get the port on the side, port on the other side, and then you have a battery port on the back underside of the helmet that you can go ahead and screw that in there. And then there's going to be pre-routing, which we'll see on the inside of the helmet, to add all the cables and the microphone, everything like that. But one thing I will call out, you can still add your own comm unit if you don't want to use that. We've done it quite a few times from every brand, from Shoei, HJC. You can add one on there. We do it for photo shoots and video shoots all the time. If you want to choose your own universal or bring your own universal and not buy one that is specific to this HJC RPHA 60 helmet. Now, sliding to the interior of the helmet, you do have a double D-ring system for its closure, and I'll try my best at getting these cheek pads out without breaking the tabs. These are emergency release cheek pads, so tabs can be a little bit finicky to get in and out, but you can see they do just slide. If you're ever removing cheek pads from a helmet, just make sure you're not using the emergency release unless it is an actual emergency, because that is prone to breaking the tabs off. In that case, you want the helmet off. You want the EMTs to be able to go ahead and take it off for you, so it's not that big of a problem. You can always replace the cheek pads later, but if you're just cleaning it, just make sure you're just pulling it out pretty normally. Slides into the inside of the shell, really soft material. It's almost like a micro fleece material up against it. I love HJCs for that. I've had RPHA 12s, RPHA 11s, and RPHA 10s for years, so I like the materials they use inside the helmet. And you can see that extra ridge I mentioned before that just adds a little bit more of like almost like a gasket under your chin and your jawbone to go ahead and keep a lot of that air and that wind noise out. Let me just get the top liner out here, and then I can show you the interior of the helmet, some of the things I like, some of the things I wish they would improve on. So getting that out there, looking at the interior of the helmet, you can see pretty decent channels inside. For something that is an aggressive, say, ADV touring style helmet, I'd love to see much larger channels inside the helmet. That's one thing I'd love to see fixed on there. I like massive channels inside of the helmet. Helps move the air, helps make my head feel a little bit cooler in hotter days, or if you come to a stop, it allows the heat just to dissipate in there. But one thing I will call out is you do get the 40mm speakers. You get the covers in there, which I'll remove real quick for our camera guy. You can see it's just a cover that goes in there. They're only 40mm millimeters in diameter. So you're not gonna be running like Harman Kardon or JBLs on the biggest side of the spectrum, but they usually offer them in 40 mils if you are running your own center or your own Cardo system. But they are designed specifically to work with the HJC smart Bluetooth system. So if you are running those, no problems with fitment. If you're running a universal comm system, just keep that in mind. You're gonna wanna make sure that it has the right size speakers, or it's just gonna be pushing into the side of your head. All in though, considering this is one of the first times we've seen HJC take the RPHA line in this direction. Typically we see the RPHA line being more race inspired. This definitely has race lines, very interesting, almost sci-fi look to the back, to the sides, to the ventilation, but all in, it offers a lot of key features like the drop down, like the included dark smoke, the included pin lock, as well as the kick out on the drop down and the air stopping at the base to make it a little bit quieter. A lot of features that we'd typically see at a higher price point than the $500 mark that this RPHA 60 is coming in. But if you have more questions on this helmet, go ahead and click that info button. It's gonna take you over to the product page where you can read other rider reviews and see what other riders are saying about the RPHA 60. Don't just take my word for it. If you still have questions after that, or if you're trying to really nail down the sizing with that half size step up that I recommend in the beginning of the video, if you're really trying to nail that in, or just figure out which ADV helmet's right for you, give our customer service agents a call. They're all riders, happy to help you get set up on your next ride. I want to thank you for joining me and checking out the all new HJC RPHA 60 helmet. I'm Pat, and I'll see you in the next video.